Lesson Sharp 19, A Journey in the Astral Plane, one of the stories about help. I was drawn to another plane from the evening I caught a terrible anxiety with my power system, like a wave on a radio. Someone felt bad, and either he reached out to me for some reason or I reached him. Clearly realizing that there was a lot of work to do today, I immediately went to sleep in a stream of energy. Having tuned into the object, I walked along the channel as if it were a tunnel, but I was thrown back several times. What is it? Once again, I woke up never reaching my goal, and decided to try again, and if it does not work to leave this idea. Climbing the black hills, I could see half-ruined buildings in the distance. There was a fight. I was able to see among the ruins of people who were exchanging fire, hiding from each other. White Souls was on duty nearby, accepting the dead. How hard the air is filled with low vibrations, fear, madness, fearlessness, anger, blind faith, heartache, feelings of loss and despair. Why am I here? What attracted me? Closing eyes, I focused on the object again. I was drawn to the right, toward one of the groups. It was a very young guy. His head was burning energetically like a star, no wonder I could feel its vibrations. But why is he here? He is such a high level, but he spends time to participate in the war. My thoughts were interrupted by a shattered wall about 50 meters away. The young man and his companions were quickly surrounded by other participants in the battle. Stunned by the explosion, people were rushing to escape before they could be captured. I followed them like a ghost. They ran away from the chase for a long time, divided into two groups. Rather, one group tried to hide, and the other, hiding, covered the retreat. Then they changed roles. The landscape has changed. We were already in the city, streets littered with garbage, houses with broken windows, broken pavement with cracked asphalt, a park, if you could still call it that. Where is the front line, or something like that? Why do these people run so long and can unsharp 039 to get to this? Near the next shelter, people sank directly into the mud, sweat pouring off them. Heavy sighs, tense faces, and weapons at the ready. I was glad that the uniform was ours. The fight was clearly taking place on the territory of the former Soviet Republic. I really wanted to believe that everything happened in a parallel world, and not in our world. I slowly began to be imbued with this situation. I really wanted the fugitives to be saved. Having caught a group of people chasing me, I was worried they would see those who were trying to escape. The pursuers approached, rapidly closing the distance between them and the fugitives. I rushed about what to do. They in sharp 039, I'll find them soon. Having completely forgotten that no one would hear me, I shouted into space, get up. You will be found now. The young man I was drawn to, jumped as if stung, and with him the whole group. Can you hear me? I asked him mentally. Then, realizing that this was not the time to discuss it, I warned, you are being followed by 3 people who will appear in the third window opening on the right. The guy nodded toward the window and said something quickly, so that his comrades would understand what was happening, and the fugitives ran away again. It was time for me to leave. Closing my eyes, I imagined my home and quickly began to move. Dawn and sharp 039 to go. We can unsharp 039 to get out without you. A thought form appeared in my head. What should I do with you? I sighed, sending out an answering thought form and returning to the battle. It became difficult. The energy around was very dark and dense. Almost the lower world. What in sharp 039 is going on here? Who is fighting whom? I just need to figure it out and look at the possible future. Approaching the guy, I was almost infiltrated in his energy system. Having rummaged in his memories, I realized that this is a parallel world, Bulgaria. The name of the country has been changed. In this territory, some peacekeepers were killing the population and suppressing the resistance forces. The main goal is to unleash an armed conflict in Europe. It was unclear. It seems that the young man himself did not know the reasons for what was happening. But it seems that this way unipolar power will be strengthened on another continent, while everyone else will cope with the consequences. I did in Sharpo 39 to come up with it. Such a thoughts were in the guy in Sharpo 39's head. I decided to see what would happen next. I tuned the pineal gland to accept images of the near future. A forecast was formed, but I looked at it only out of the corner of my eye. We all ran and ran. Several countries are in fire and ruin, including Russia. This world will create such dark waves that the consequences will be felt in our world. But what can one person do, and at this level? There was no time to think. The fugitives were exhausted after running over rough terrain for more than 4 hours. They were about to fall off their feet. During this time my ward has almost become a commander. The soldiers have already lost 2 people, one of whom was the commander of this unit. By unspoken approval, everyone now ran after my ward and listened to his commands, because he seemed to know where to get away from the pursuit. So, we solve the current moments. The fugitives need food and a place to sit out. Where are they even trying to get to? Or from where? The city where the battle was going was divided into sectors, and this group was on some kind of mission deep behind enemy lines. It didn't Sharpo 39 to matter which one they did it, and now they dream of getting out alive. Stew and pleasant odors from the bodies of fighters, some rags and a deep sleep. Sleep. My ward needed to rest after impact of too such heavy space energy, to purify himself. And it would make it easier for me to contact him. I got into the guy in Sharpo 39's subconscious and started build the world. Blooming meadows, a house by the river, a dog happily wags its tail, and then runs away. The sun and Sharpo 39's rays, light rain and a rainbow. Well, that will be fine. The young man stretched out on the grass and looked up at the sky in the world I had created. He was clearly enjoying the dream. And then, obviously overestimating my abilities, I entered the dream in the form of a young woman. It was necessary to get acquainted, to direct the guy in Sharpo 39's thoughts to the current situation, to understand what he wanted. When he sees me, he will subconsciously understand that there is no danger, that he has already seen me somewhere. Taking over the control of the dream, he formed an impenetrable forest in me, in the role of lost in it. A bit distantly watching the plot of the dream, I was thinking about our acquaintance and about what I should do next. This was my mistake. The ward was stronger than I thought. After a while, I was completely immersed in the story. We had lived in the forest for several days before the guy woke up, and I completely replaced my memory with his world, without even noticing the substitution. He awoke abruptly and immediately. Their group was sent on another mission, and my ward was assigned responsibility for the outcome of the operation. I helped as much as I could. Scanned the space, showing possible passages and weak points of the enemy. He thought of me as a kind of guardian angel. Now the connection was strong enough that he could hear my thought forms clearly as a voice in his head. And his fellow soldiers noticed a white cloud near him. No one had any doubt that he was being helped by higher forces. If only they knew who it really was. If such a connection existed in my ward with a deceased person, this person would draw strength from him. The only difference was that I was alive, and my physical body could sync with his body through channels amplifying us. Our connection in their world lasted 3 weeks. When he was awake, he supervised the preparation of operations, was engaged in the current affairs of headquarters, and when he was asleep, I pulled him to higher levels so that he could rest from this nightmare and not go crazy. Do you know when we are pushed to higher worlds? When there is so much energy, that the world in which we live cannot hold us. The energy level can be developed by training, or you can be in touch with another person when 2 energy centers are connected. They first synchronize, the stronger one pulls the weaker one up to its level and then they begin to strengthen each other. Energy is gained not periodically, as in those engaged in internal practices, but constantly. It is no secret that after some time the world can no longer hold 2 living objects, so strongly swayed energetically. They begin to transform reality for themselves. And the world, its very woven matter, in order to remain whole, pushes such objects out of itself. How do you get out of a world like ours? If for a while, then leave the physical body, letting go of the astral projection with the consciousness to travel to other worlds. And forever, just to die. Strange situations and accidents began to happen to us, and it became more and more difficult for us to predict the development of events, but we still came out of all the troubles unharmed, or rather, my ward got out of it and stayed alive. The tension in the world and Sharpo 39 as tissues grew. If I had a memory, I would not have allowed this change in reality, but there was no memory and we both were carried with the flow. And then there was a big firefight during which the soldiers sat in ambush for 2 days, and the nerves of both sides could no longer stand it. There were not many people, but we decided to break through the defense and easily overcame several lines. They hid behind some barrels and cisterns, attacking suddenly when the enemy was least prepared for it. The final destination was only a few meters away. Someone else was shooting back, but we already knew how to approach the enemy from the other side. At that moment a deafening roar began to build up around me, everything became ghostly, and then completely melted away. I no longer felt connected to my ward. The rumble continued for a while, and then I just woke up. The phone rang on silent. I answered automatically. Hello? I am calling for the 3rd time, is it difficult to answer? We have been looking for you, where are you and when will you arrive? The girl blurted out nervously into the phone. I can in Sharpo 39, talk right now. I in Sharpo 39, am in the waiting room, I said automatically, and hung up. At that moment, I wanted only one thing, to return to the world where the war was going on. I lay down and closed my eyes, trying to separate my consciousness from my body. But it didn't in Sharpo 39 work. After a few minutes of this, I thought about the call. I didn't in Sharpo 39 remember the girl who called. I sat up in bed and looked around. Rectangular bright room, furniture, flowers. Nothing that looks familiar to me. I didn't in Sharpo 39 remember anything. Nothing at all. Panic began to set in. I grabbed the phone in Sharpo 39, as strange that I know how to use it. I started looking through photos. Nothing. At this moment, I remembered very well what had happened all 3 weeks in another world, but who I was, where I lived, and whom with when I thought about it, there was an absolute void in my memories. I sat like that for about 20 minutes, until my family woke up and came into the room to ask why I wasn't in Sharpo 39 going to work. We all slept in for exactly 3 hours. The moment I saw my family in Sharpo 39 as faces in person, instead of in photos, my memories came back. But now I only remembered those 3 weeks in the other world and only in general terms. Such a connection leaves a permanent mark on the heart. And part of my heart is in another world, maybe even alive, or maybe buried under the ruins. May everything be fine with him. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. All have a good mood and bye.